الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. No doubt for any Muslim who is keen on knowing about his deen and practicing Islam correctly, and he or she knows the importance of having for themselves principles in which they look by and sound fundamentals in which they believe in to help them to navigate through the hayat of this dunya in order to be servants who are getting closer to Allah in the way that He legislated. The single most important aspect of the deen of Allah that we have to all know and buy into is the importance of the Tawhid of Allah. The importance of the Tawhid of Allah. For example, if we were to take the formula of the Kalimah, La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah, this most important imperative aspect of the deen is not understood by many Muslim men and many Muslim women. People say, La ilaha illallah, left, right, and center. They say La ilaha illallah, and yet they make dua to other than Allah. They say La ilaha illallah, if you were to ask many of the Muslims, what's your interpretation of La ilaha illallah? The interpretation that a Muslim has, a person has of La ilaha illallah is not consistent with what's been revealed in the Quran or consistent with what the Prophet brought, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You don't have to ask a brand new Muslim or a person who doesn't know Arabic the meaning of La ilaha illallah, and because he doesn't know Arabic, he can't do the right meaning. But many people say the meaning of La ilaha illallah is that there is no God but Allah, and that's not the case. And I think everyone here knows that the meaning of La ilaha illallah is there is no God worthy of worship except Allah. When the Prophet ﷺ came to Quraysh and he told Quraysh, say La ilaha illallah, you'll be successful. Quraysh, linguistically, they knew what the Prophet was saying, ﷺ. They knew when he told them to say La ilaha illallah, it meant that the gods that they erected at the Kaaba, they didn't have the right to be worshipped. And that translated to something for them. It translated to an issue of power and economics. Their power being compromised and their economics being compromised. In the Arabian Peninsula, the Arabs used to go to Mecca and they used to make Hajj and pay homage to Mecca every year, and they would bring money to the people of Mecca, and they would do business with the people of Mecca, and they would trade with the people of Mecca. So when the Nabi told Quraysh, say La ilaha illallah, Quraysh knew La ilaha illallah is going to hit them in their economic pocket, because if they have to get rid of all of those gods and idols that the Arabs used to worship, that means the Arabs are not going to come and pay homage to all of those gods and bring their money and their goods. So when Abu Lahab and Abu Jahl, when they heard La ilaha illallah, they knew that that meant no more money. They knew that that meant Quraysh wouldn't have the position that they had in the minds and the hearts of the Arabs of the Arabian Peninsula and other than that. So if you go back and you read the Surah Quraysh, Li Ilahi Quraysh, that's what that surah is all about. Allah is telling them to remember His favors, that the other Arabs would come in the winter time, and they would go to them in the summertime, and so forth and so on. So the point here is, the linguistic meaning of La ilaha illallah is not even understood by many of the people. So I want to take this opportunity now to bring something to your attention, just as a reminder, and that is that the scholars of the past used to pay close attention to dissecting La ilaha illallah. So as a student of knowledge, as a Muslim, any Muslim, but even more so for the student of knowledge, the person who wants to be an individual who's elevated in his Islamic knowledge. He's just not going to sit there and say, I'm a Muslim, and just be satisfied with that, but he wants to be able to learn as much as possible. The scholars took La ilaha illallah, they dissected it and wrote books about many aspects of it. So you'll find some books in Islam where the scholars wrote about the ayats that mention La ilaha illallah and explain just the ayat of the Quran. Then another scholar will come and he'll take the ahadith that just mention La ilaha illallah. And then another scholar will come and he'll take the issue of what they call the nawaqid of al-Islam, those things that you do, that if you were to do them, they would render La ilaha illallah null and void. They call it the nawaqid of Islam. Those things that if a person were to do these things, even if he says La ilaha illallah is zeros, nothing. Like Shaykh al-Islam, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, he has that book, Nawaqid of al-Islam. Other scholars came and they wrote books about the arkan of La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah has arkan. Arkan means the pillars, like the arkan of al-Islam, the arkan of al-Iman. The arkan of al-Islam are 5. The shahadatain, the salat, the zakat, Sawm, hajj. The arkan of al-Iman, faith, of 6. The believe in Allah, the malaika, the books, the prophets, Yawm al-Qiyamah, and the qadr, the good of it and the evil of it. La ilaha illallah has arkan, and the scholars wrote about those arkan. Also, La ilaha illallah has conditions. It has conditions. It's not enough just to say La ilaha illallah, the person doesn't know the condition of La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah, from the conditions is yaqeen, from the conditions is to have knowledge, what it means, from the conditions is to love it. How many people in the city of Birmingham and other than Birmingham, Muslims, they say La ilaha illallah, and yet they don't have love for La ilaha illallah or the people of La ilaha illallah. You go to any Braille masjid here, any Braille masjid, you ask these people who are miskeen, masakeen, what do you think about Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, who wrote the book Kitab al-Tawhid, in which he only brought ayat and ahadith to show how to be a Muslim, how to understand La ilaha illallah. These people will call you Wahhabi. Wahhabi, why Wahhabi? Because the man fought against shirk, and the man tried to support La ilaha illallah. So people say La ilaha illallah, but they don't know the condition. It doesn't have love for La ilaha illallah, or for the people of La ilaha illallah, or defend it or call to it, like the kuffar of Quraysh. Allah mentioned the kuffar of Quraysh. He said in the Quran, وَإِذَا ذُكِرَ الله وحده اشمأزت قلوب الذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة وإذا ذكر الذين من دونه إذا هم يستبشرون. Quraysh. If Allah was mentioned by himself, or if you told Quraysh, Abu Lahab, Abu Jahl, worship Allah alone, قُولُوا لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. If Allah is mentioned by himself, the people who disbelieve become enraged with anger because you told them to say La ilaha illallah, worship only Allah. But if others are worshipped along with Allah, lo and behold, they become happy. That's the condition of some Muslims. If you tell them, don't make dua to the Nabi, don't make dua to the man in the grave, the saint, don't do this, don't just worship Allah, slaughter for Allah, they'll say, Wahhabi, you don't love the Nabi, you don't love, they become enraged. So the point is, the scholars of Islam, they dissected this La ilaha illallah, they dissected it by giving conditions. And one of the things that they gave from the dissection of this formula, La ilaha illallah, is the virtues of La ilaha illallah, the fadail of La ilaha illallah. Now, I need you guys to really pay attention here. The virtues of La ilaha illallah. If you were to ask the Sikh, what's the virtue of some aspect of his religion, the Hindu? Why is the cow sacred? The average Hindu want to sit you down and tell you some crazy story about why the cow is sacred. You go and you stop a Muslim, hey you, Abdullah, Amatullah, Ahmed, Sharifa. What are some of the virtues of La ilaha illallah from the Quran, from the Sunnah? Not just from your mind. Like, what does the Quran say is a virtue of La ilaha illallah? And what did the Sunnah say was a virtue of La ilaha illallah? You'll find many people can't even conceptualize what the question is. Well, what are you talking about, the virtues? Like, there are certain dalils from the Quran, certain dalils from the Sunnah, proofs that show the importance of La ilaha illallah. For an example, Allah Azza wa Jalla has made, from the virtues of La ilaha illallah, Allah Azza wa Jalla has made the da'wah and the call of all of his prophets and all of his messengers, the fundamental da'wah revolves around La ilaha illallah. All of them call to that. All of them. There are subtle differences between their legislations. Some of them did certain things that others didn't have to do. But one thing that was consistent is that all of the prophets and all of the messengers called to La ilaha illallah. If it wasn't virtuous and important, that wouldn't have been the case. Allah mentioned in the Quran in Surah Zukhruf, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن قَبْلِكَ مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا نُوحِي إِلَيْهِ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنَا فَاعْبُدُونِ. We never sent before you, Ya Muhammad, a messenger except that it was revealed to him that he should say to his people, there is no God worthy of worship except Allah, so worship him. That's one of the virtues. That all of the prophets and all of the messengers came with this call. وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. We sent to every group of people, every nation, a messenger. And he came to speak with those people, worship Allah, don't worship the Taghut. Don't make shirk with Allah. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. All of them were commanded, all of the prophets, all of the messengers, they were commanded, worship Allah with ikhlas. Don't make shirk with Allah. So that's a virtue. From the virtues of La ilaha illallah is that Allah Azza wa Jalla, He made it what He called in the Quran al-urwatul wuthqa. Al-urwa al-wuthqa. Everyone here knows that ayat number 255 in Surah Al-Baqarah is Ayatul Kursi. It's the greatest ayat of the Quran. After Ayatul Kursi, 256, Allah Ta'ala mentioned, وَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ اسْتَمْسَكَ بِالْعُرْوَةِ الْوُثْقَى لَا انْفِصَامَ لَهَا وَاللَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Anyone who disbelieves in the Taghut is anything and everything that's worshipped other than Allah. The sun, the moon, the cow, money, power, women. Whoever disbelieves in Taghut and he believes in Allah, he has grabbed onto the urwatul wuthqa. He has grabbed onto the handhold that never breaks. Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said, an urwatul wuthqa, it is La ilaha illallah. Anyone who holds on to La ilaha illallah is not going to let him down. If he holds on to his intellect, if he holds on to his madhab, if he holds on to his tribe, his culture, if he holds on to his money, his power, it may help him and it may not help him. It may help him, it may not help him. But if the individual holds on to La ilaha illallah, it'll never break, as Allah mentioned. Now, if you were to read that ayah of the Quran, you or I, we just read the Urwatul Wuthqa, we're not going to come to the conclusion that that's talking about La ilaha illallah unless we go back and we read the tafsir, what those ulama said, like Abdullah ibn Abbas. So from the virtues of La ilaha illallah is, from the Quran, it is the handhold that never breaks. In addition to that, many deletes. It's the contract that Allah Azza wa Jalla took out for and with the people to give people the ability to make intercession Yawm al-Qiyamah. A shafa, intercession. The angels will be able to intercede on behalf of some people. You and me even. The prophets and the messengers will have the ability to intercede on behalf of people. The child will be able to intercede on behalf of the father and the mother. The mother and the father will be able to intercede on behalf of the child. Friends will be able to intercede on behalf of one another. The angels, everybody. Allah has given people Yawm al-Qiyamah the ability to intercede. They deserve to go to the hellfire, but someone will get involved and they won't go to the hellfire. But this intercession can only take place with what Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran. لا يملكون الشفاعة إلا من اتخذ عند الرحمن عهدا. No one will be able to be benefited by any intercession of another person unless that person had a contract with Allah, an ahd, contract. If you read this ayah and I read this ayah, face value, we don't understand other than you need a contract with Allah to be able to intercede. But if we look at the tafsir, an explanation of the ayah, Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said, this contract is La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. And the meaning of it is, a person who wants to be interceded, he needs intercession. Allah won't allow anyone to give him intercession unless that person came with La ilaha illallah. Allah won't allow that person to be interceded for unless he had La ilaha illallah. No matter who he is and no matter who that person is. If they don't come with La ilaha illallah, no intercession. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam won't be able to intercede on behalf of his mother and his father. He has la ilaha illallah, but they don't. Ibrahim, he'll be able to intercede on behalf of he'll be able to intercede on behalf of people, but he won't be able to intercede on behalf of his father Isaac. He has la ilaha illallah, but he didn't. So from the virtues of la ilaha illallah is the intercession Yawmul Qiyamah will only be granted to the individual who has that contract with Allah Azza wa Jalla. And that contract, again, according to Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, is the statement that the person says, understands, calls to, practices, is La ilaha illallah. Another example with Ibrahim. When he had his problem with his people, Allah Ta'ala mentioned about Ibrahim. وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ لِأَبِيهِ وَقَوْمِهِ إِنَّنِي بَرَاءٌ مِّمَّا تَعْبُدُونَ إِلَّا الَّذِي فَطَرَنِي وَجَعَلَهَا كَلِمَةً بَاقِيَةً فِي عَقِبِهِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. And remember when Ibrahim was arguing with his father and his people, he told his father and his people, I'm free from what you people worship other than Allah. I'm free from you and what you worship other than Allah. The only one I worship is the one who created me. And then Allah said, and he made that an everlasting word in the progeny of Ibrahim in the hopes that they will become guided, in the hopes that they will come back to their senses. So again, Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said that this word that was mentioned in the ayah, kalimatun baqiyah, kalimatun baqiyah, وَجَعَلَهَا كَلِمَةٌ بَاقِيَةٌ فِي عَقِبِهِ. We made an everlasting word. Ibn Abbas said this everlasting word that Ibrahim had for his descendants was, again, La ilaha illallah. You won't be able to read that ayah. I won't be able to read that ayah at face value. You come to that conclusion. We come to that conclusion based on what the Mufassirun of the Quran have explained to us with the authentic translations and transmissions that go back up to the companions of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So those are some of the examples of the Quran, and there are many. From the Sunnah, I'm going to mention two, and then I'm going to ask you guys, people of Islam. You guys share with me some of the virtues of La ilaha illallah in our religion. From the Sunnah, one of the virtues of La ilaha illallah, and there are many, is that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if a person were to make the proper wudu, he didn't waste the water, and he touched all of the parts, and he did the wudu the correct way. And then after making the wudu, he said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasul. Futihat lahu abwab al-jannati thamaniya, yadkhulu fi ayyiha yasha. If the person says that, la ilaha illallah, Muhammadan Rasulullah, the 8 doors of Jannah will be opened up for him. He'll be able to enter into any one of those doors that he wants to go through. That's a virtue of La ilaha illallah. That's a virtue. That every time a person makes wudu, if he just said that, he positions himself because of the power and the might of that statement, the meaning of the statement, he'll be able, inshallah, ultimately to enter into any one of those doors of Jannah that he wants. What was the kalimah? What was the word? La ilaha illallah. The word wasn't inshallah, mashallah. It was la ilaha illallah. That gets those doors open. It's the key to Jannah. That's one of the virtues of it. Another proof from the Sunnah. And there are many, just too many. From the Quran and from the Sunnah. We're going to, inshallah ta'ala, collectively mention them. Another example from the authentic Sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam of the virtues of La ilaha illallah is that the Nabi said in the authentic hadith, Al-Iman bid'un wa sab'una shu'ba or bid'un wa sittuna shu'ba فأفضلها قول لا إله إلا الله وأدناها إماتة الأذى عن الطريق والحياء شعبة من الإيمان. He said, Al-Iman. Everyone here is on a certain level of Iman, a certain state. Everyone here. When Ramadan comes, your Iman goes up. When you do something from the ibadat of Islam, you make a big effort, a commitment, and you're happy about what you do, your iman goes down. When a person sins, when he does good deeds, his iman goes up. When he sins, his iman goes down. And it fluctuates like that. No one's iman is going to stay like that. And no one's iman should stay like that. It's going to go up and down. That's just the way Allah created the people. Abu Bakr, he met a companion, his name is Hudayfa, or Hamdallah. They met each other, and they started to complain between themselves. Abu Bakr said, you know what, Hamdallah, whenever I'm with the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and I'm hearing him talking, and I'm spending time with him, my iman is very high. But when I get away from him, and I start dealing with my family, my wife, my work, and I'm out there, then my iman goes down. You think something's wrong with me? He said, I experienced the same thing. When I'm with the Nabi, I'm listening to the Quran, I'm listening to the Sunnah, I'm in the masjid, we're making jihad, we're doing the ibadat, I'm being reminded of why I was created, who Allah is, Jannah, Nar, I'm filling up. But as soon as I get away from that dhikr, and I start talking to my wife, and start talking to the people, start talking about the soccer, start talking about this, that, I'm doing my business, I don't have that same level. He said, I feel the same way. Let's go ask the Nabi about it. They told him the situation. The Prophet told them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you people had the ability to maintain that level of iman that you have when you're with me, you'll be able to shake hands with the malaika when you're in the street. He said, but this is the way iman is. It goes up and down. So the Muslim has to surround himself with things that are going to keep his iman at least at a steady level, and he tries to get it increased by doing more. But he can't just be negligent. If he's negligent, there's going to be a problem. So the person, he doesn't believe, like the Nabi says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the person drinks khamr, he doesn't believe while he's drinking khamr. His iman is down. When a person steals, his iman, he's not stealing while he's a mu'min. His iman is down. When he makes no sense. So the point is that the Nabi said in this hadith, he said, Al-Iman is 70 something branches, 70 levels, 70. He said the highest and best level is your statement, La ilaha illallah. And the lowest branch of Iman is picking something harmful up out of the street. And al-hayat, shyness, is a branch of Iman. This hadith is a tremendous hadith from many, many angles. We don't have time to explain the hadith, but one of the benefits of the hadith is it shows the virtues of La ilaha illallah, because it's the highest level of al-Iman. That's a virtue. The lowest level is if a Muslim were to see something that was harmful in the street. It can be harmful to anyone, Muslim or non-Muslim. If he didn't move it, then he doesn't even have the lowest level of Iman. He just walked by it and he allowed it to be there. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the street, like on the ground. There's a live wire somewhere coming out, a live wire. He sees the live wire and he remains silent about it. He doesn't do anything. It's not in the street, it's hanging there, it's here. He has to say to someone, do something about this, because he doesn't allow the other Muslims to get hurt, and so forth and so on. So the point is, from the virtues of La ilaha illallah is the fact that it's the highest branch of Al-Iman. Now, there are many other proofs from the Quran and the Sunnah. We want you guys to participate with us. So, what are some of the virtues of La ilaha illallah, you Muslims? You were born and raised as Muslims, you've been on Islam for some time. What are some of the virtues of La ilaha illallah? Now don't forget, guys, if we saw one of them Sikh Hindus, hey Hindu, come here. Why is the cow important? He's going to tell us, he's going to give us a lesson about that cow. Our religion is the Deen al-Haq. It's the real religion, truth. We should be able to do this. And our children should be taught this issue, that if an individual is a Muslim, he should know the significance of La ilaha illallah and not take it for granted. Okay, everybody, raise your hands if you want to know. Anybody? Come on, guys, come on. All right, actually, tafadhal.
Hadith of Bitaqa.
Good job. One of the proofs of the virtues of La ilaha illallah is the hadith of the Bitaqa. The Bitaqa, ikhwani, is actually a card, like this is like your the oyster card. That's a Bitaqa. Your ID card is a Bitaqa. your bank card. This is called the bataqa. The Nabi said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Yawm al-Qiyamah, a man will be brought, and the scales of reckoning will be placed before him. There will be 99 books, 99 scrolls containing all of his bad deeds. They will be put on the scale. For as far as the eye can see, that's how many bad things he did. They will be put on the scale, and the scale is going to go like that. Then the man will be questioned, do you have any good deeds? The man said, I don't have anything. It will be said, no, you have one good deed. You did one good deed. So from that statement, you have one good deed. He didn't do salah. He didn't do zakat. He didn't fast. He didn't do hajj. And there's a proof that some scholars use to show that a person who doesn't pray, but he believes in salah, he's still a believer. Because it was said to him, do you have any good deeds? He said, no. They said, no, you have one good deed. And they would pull out that bataqa. On that bataqa will be written, La ilaha illallah. The man says, what is that going to do with all of this? It will be said to him, you won't be oppressed today. The bataqa will be put in the scale, and then it's going to outweigh all of those 99 scrolls. That's a virtue of La ilaha illallah that shows many things. It shows, number one, that no matter what crime the individual does in this dunya, homosexuality, lesbianism, murder, drinking khamr, doing heroin, all of the crimes that he does, if he dies saying La ilaha illallah, if he dies saying La ilaha illallah, that's going to outweigh that. He may have to go to the hellfire, but it's up to Allah. Allah may put him in the hellfire to burn him, to purify him, to go to Jannah. May Allah protect us from the hellfire. But even if he didn't make Tawbah, it's up to Allah. Allah, it's not your call, it's not my call, it's not for anyone to make that judgment. It's totally up to Allah. Allah will forgive him or punish him. But if Allah punished him, he's coming out of the hellfire eventually. The Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it shows the meaning of this hadith and the virtue of La ilaha illallah. Man qala La ilaha illallah nafa'atu yawman min dahrihi. Anyone who said La ilaha illallah is going to benefit him one day. He may go to the hellfire, but that's going to get him out. That hadith also shows that if a person does a lot of good deeds, he built 1 million masjids, he wrote 1 billion books, he took care of 1,000 orphans, he did birrul walidain, he was good, blah, 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 blah. But if he dies, Yawm al-Qiyamah, and he's making shirk with Allah, he's in trouble. He's in trouble. In the hadith al-Qudsi, the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned, Ya ibn Adam, إنك لو أنك أتيتني بقراب الأرض خطايا ثم لقيتني لا تشرك بي شيئا لأتيتك بقرابها مغفرة ولا أبالي. Allah will say, said to us, O son of Adam, if you filled up the whole world with evil deeds and sins, you by yourself, you filled up this whole world, not this room, this building, this street, this country, the whole world. You filled it up with sins, and then you came to me and you met me, Yawm al-Qiyamah, you didn't make shirk with me, I'm going to come to you with as much forgiveness, and I don't care. So from the virtues of La ilaha illallah is the hadith of the bataqa. Good job, Akhi, you escaped. If you want to go home, you can go home now. Alright, for the rest of you guys, who's going to give you the next virtue of La ilaha illallah? There's so many. Anybody? Nah, my man.
So is that hadith about if you say La ilaha illallah wa rahmatullahi?
Good job. Give me some love. From the virtues of La ilaha illallah is that the Nabi says sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, خير الدعاء دعاء يوم عرفة وخير ما كنت أنا والنبيون من قبلي لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير. The Prophet said the best dua that you can make in this dunya, the best dua that you can make is the dua of the day of Arafah. And the best thing that I said and the Prophet said before me is what I just mentioned. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah lahu al-mulku wa lahu al-hamd wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. The Nabi said about this dua, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, anyone who says this dua 100 times, 100 times, then he'll get the reward of freeing 10 slaves. He'll get 100 hasan. He'll get 100 bad deeds taken off of him. And no one will come with more rewards other than the one who said it more. So it's no surprise that after the 5 prayers, the Nabi said this dua, he said this dua after each prayer. So many times, 100 times. This prayer, this dua comes in many types of dua. Khair, afdal, and kalimat, arba. The best words that you can say are 4. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. It's one of the best things that you can say. So many things about this dua, about what that brother just said. So many. We have problems. We have anxieties. We do. We have problems. We have anxieties. We have goals and aspirations. We want to be protected. We want more money. We want to get married. We want this. We want that. If you want to get out of your problem, do what the Nabi of Islam did. Yunus. Allah Ta'ala mentioned Yunus in the Quran. فَنَادَى فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ أَنْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ سُبْحَانَكَ إِنِّي كُنْتُ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. He was in the belly of the well. That's darkness. In addition to that, the well was under the water, deep in the ocean. More darkness, problems. That's problems. He said, verily there is no God worthy of worship but you. La ilaha illa ant. There is no God except you. Subhanaka. Glory unto you. I was from those who were oppressive. Allah just mentioned, because of that dua, we opened the way for him. So it goes to show, if a person has issues, if a person has problems, if a person is dealing with whatever he's dealing with, that's the dua that will open up the door for that particular issue. So La ilaha illallah is the best dhikr. Good job, my man. Good job. Anybody else? Come on, guys. From the Quran and the Sunnah. All right.
There was the hadith. I remember he said, "Ya Mu'adh, what is the right you have from Allah? The right of Allah is all."
This hadith is authentic and it shows the virtues of Tawhid and the importance of Tawhid. Ya Mu'adh, do you know the haqq of Allah and His servants? The haqq of the servants in Allah, He said Allah and His message know best. He said the haqq of Allah and His servants is that they should worship Him and no one else. And ta'buduhu wa la tushriku bihi shay'. And ya'buduhu wa la yushriku bihi shay'. That they should worship Him alone and not make shirk. And the haqq of Allah over the servants, because Allah gave them that, is if they do that, He'll not put them in the Jahannam. So that shows the importance of Tawheed. But what we're asking for here is the virtues of La ilaha illallah. That's a part of it, but we want the formula. That's a part of it. And in no way or stretch of the imagination we're going to throw that away, because that's important. It shows the importance of Tawheed and the danger of the shirk. So what we're looking for right now, a virtue of this word that we say. La ilaha illallah. Anybody else? Anybody else? Ideal. Anybody else?
Yeah, time of Malt is a good time.
Good job. What's your name, man?
Tariq on this.
Tariq.
Yes.
والسماء والطارق وما أدراك ما الطارق النجم الثاقب. From the virtues of La ilaha illallah, as our brother Tariq said, the Nabi, he says sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, من كان آخر كلامه لا إله إلا الله دخل الجنة. Anyone who the last word that he said was La ilaha illallah is going to Jannah. Good job, Tariq. Anyone, the last thing that he says is La ilaha illallah, he's going to Jannah. So the Nabi told us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he showed us, if a person is on his deathbed, religious people should be in his presence. Knowledgeable people should be in his presence. Because from his sunnah, is trying to get the person to say La ilaha illallah. Now if you have irreligious people, ignorant relatives and people who are there, they're going to come, they're going to be talking about, did you see the goal that David Beckham scored? What do you think about what's happening with this one? And the guy is laying there about to die. And then he turns around and says, yeah, that was messed up. And that's the last word. And another thing, Ikhwani, this is really important. If we don't train our tongues with the dhikr of Allah after salah, if we don't train our tongues, don't think it's easy to say La ilaha illallah before you die. Because you're not used to it. At any minute, anything can happen. You're driving your car. You can be a responsible driver. But the person who is coming down the motorway on the other side is drunk. He doesn't know what he's doing. And you see those seconds of death approaching you. Hurry up and say La ilaha. No, you're not used to it. When the car's coming, you say, oh, shh. Damn. And that's what happens. Because that's what you're used to. But if a person is always making the dhikr of Allah, it's part of his life, meaning not all day 24/7, but during the time of the salat, after salat, his regular way. His wife says to him, okay, I had the same pair of shoes for 5 years, it's time to buy me a new pair of shoes. He says, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. He's always making dhikr, that's the point. When death comes, he'll be more apt to make the dhikr. Knowledge, the way he is. But if he doesn't make these dhikrs at all, he's going to be forsaken. And that's one of the virtues of La ilaha illallah. Allah mentioned in the Quran in Surah Ibrahim, يُثَبِّتُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِالْقَوْلِ الثَّابِتِ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ وَيُضِلُّ اللَّهُ الظَّالِمِينَ وَيَفْعَلُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ. Allah will establish those who believe with a strong word, al-qawl thabit. Allah will establish those who believe with a strong word in the dunya and in the hereafter. And Allah causes the oppressors to go astray. He does what He wants. The qawl thabit, the strong word, is the ability to say La ilaha illallah before you die. The ability to say what you're supposed to say at the right time. The two angels, Munkar and Nakir, they come to the person in the grave. Who's your Lord? My Lord is Allah. What's your deen? My deen is al-Islam. What did you have to say about that man who came? He's not going to say Hazir Nazir. He's from the Nur of Allah. He's not going to say that. He's going to say he's Abdullah wa Rasuluhu. Allah established him. Now the kafir, the munafiq, the weak Muslim, ignorant, who's your Lord? La adri. What's your religion? La adri. I went to a prison. In the prison, there was a new revert who was being told by an Asian Muslim. The Asian Muslim was about 40. He was telling the new revert that in the month of Ramadan, the break fast is after Isha. After Isha. Now, there are some Muslims who are really out of it. They have dogs, they don't know how to pray, but they know some basic things. There are some people who, when the month of Ramadan comes, Muslims, they don't even know what's Ramadan. They don't even know aspects of it. Who in his right mind as a Muslim would think Ramadan break fast is at Isha? He doesn't know his religion. Hazar Nazar. That stuff is from Hinduism. That stuff that these people, they Yarmi, Khatam, that's from Hinduism. What's your religion? La adri. Because I can't prove this stuff that I'm doing. I'm just doing it. And then the last question. What do you have to say about that man who come? You gotta say, I heard the people saying something, so I said it. My mother and my father, they said it, I said it. I come from that country, we said it. The angel would say, Ma talito ma dalil. You didn't read, so you didn't come to know. You didn't learn your religion, so you didn't come to know. And then we'll be tortured and punished until Yawm al-Qiyamah. So the point here, as my man Tariq said, Barakallah fi, from the virtues of La ilaha illallah, whoever, it is the last thing that comes out of his mouth, he's going to go get Jannah. Good job, Tariq. You three brothers on the right side, if you're facing this way, you're from the right. The Ashab al-Yameen. The Ashab al-Yameen. Now we're looking for the Ashab al-Shimal, those people. Ashab al-Shimal, always a problem. May Allah make us from the Ashab al-Yameen Yawm al-Qiyamah. Okay, Ashab al-Shimal. Come on, guys, come on. All you brothers, just give me one. La ilaha illallah, from the virtues of it is the statement that is sawab, Yawm al-Qiyamah. in Surah An-Naba, Juz Amma, the first Surah An-Naba, Amma Yatasa'alun. In that ayah, in that Surah, Allah Ta'ala mentioned, يوم يقوم الروح والملائكة صفا لا يتكلمون إلا من أذن له الرحمن وقال الصواب. On that day, no one will be able to speak except the one that Ar-Rahman gave him permission to speak. And when he does speak, he was going to say the sawab. I think that word is in Urdu, Pakistani, Mirpuri, sawab. It means the correct thing, the right thing. Abdullah ibn Abbas says sawab in this ayah is the ability to say La ilaha illallah. Now if you and I read that ayah just like that, you don't know that that's La ilaha illallah just like that. That's why we have to always go a step further and see what the ulama of the tafsir is saying about these ayat and these ahadith. So from the virtues of La ilaha illallah, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he said, La ilaha illallah is the muntaha sawab. It is the epitome of the exact word, the correct word. So Yawm al-Qiyamah, people won't be able to speak. And those who will be able to speak, they're going to say La ilaha illallah as something that renders that meaning. That's one of the virtues. Anyone else? Anyone else? Come on, guys, there's so many. From the virtues of Khwani is La ilaha illallah is the Kalimah Tayyibah. Al-Kalimah Tayyibah. Surah Ibrahim. ألم تر كيف ضرب الله مثلا كلمة طيبة كشجرة طيبة أصلها ثابت وفرعها في السماء تؤتي أكلها كل حين بإذن ربها ويضرب الله الأمثال للناس لعلهم يتذكرون. Do you not see how Allah has given a similitude, an example, a parable, a simile? He gave the similitude of the Kalimah Tayyibah. He said the Kalimah Tayyibah is like the good tree. It's firmly established in the earth and its roots is firmly established in the earth and its branches reach up to the sky. And that tree, that good tree, like the good word, that good tree, it gives its fruit every season. And this is how Allah gives an example to the people so that they could reflect. So the good word, al-kalima al-tayyibah. Al-kalima al-tayyibah is when you say inshallah, mashallah, jazakallah, khairah, Allahu Akbar. Any of these words are the good words. But the number one kalima tayyibah is La ilaha illallah. That's what the Nabi said about this particular ayah of the Quran. That the kalima tayyibah of the Quran in this particular ayah is the ability to say La ilaha illallah. And there's more. Anybody else want to try? Anybody? You guys? Now.
I forget the narration, I think of the Lord Ustadh Islam. He said about it. He asked Allah for something more like a miracle or something like that.
Who?
Ustadh Islam. And Allah said that I gave you, I don't know if it's properly wrote in or wrong, but I gave you La ilaha illallah, like if you go to the heaven and the earth together and you got your statement that way.
Now, that's authentic. That's an authentic hadith that one hadith said that Noah, the hadith said that the Prophet ﷺ said, if you to put La ilaha illallah on the scales, it will outweigh everything in the heavens and the earth. That's an authentic narration. Another hadith said that Musa told his people, or Noah told his people, I forget which one that it was, that they asked Allah for something and He gave this La ilaha illallah. But I don't know the narration. My ability to bring how the narration goes correctly is not clear. But that narration of one of those prophets, Allah giving it, no, I think it was Noah said to his son. But we'll go back and we'll check that. But there's another narration that said, if you put La ilaha illallah on the scale, it will outweigh everything in the heavens and the earth. That's authentic. That's from the virtues. So we have one brother representing from the Ashab al-Shimal, and he's in the back, but it's okay. Anybody else from the Ashab? Little man. Hilal Ibn Khalifa. You want to give us a virtue of La ilaha illallah? Do you want to give us one? Okay. Those are some of the virtues, Ikhwani, and they are meaning. So my advice to you as students of knowledge is to go back to read about this issue. La ilaha illallah is imperative. It has its conditions. It has its arkan. It has its virtues. It has its meaning. It has its divisions. It has its ayat. It has its ahadith. It has all of those books that those scholars wrote about. Kitab al-Tawhid by Ibn Khuzaymah. His book is called Kitab al-Tawhid, and it's talking about the Minhaj al-Salaf. He called his book Kitab al-Tawhid, and it's similar to those other books of Aqidah, like Al-Imam Ahmed, Al-Imam al-Barbahari, those books. It's just like that. To believe in this, to believe in that. People of the Sunnah believe in this, that. He called it Kitab al-Tawhid. Hamid ibn Abdul Wahhab, Kitab al-Tawhid, and he just brought the chapters about what is consistent with Tawhid and what's not consistent. Alhamdulillah. So we're going to stop here, inshallah. If you brothers have any questions, you can put your question across, inshallah. Now, you have anything? Someone remind me, if you can send me a text message, Akhi, to remind me, ideal, because I have your about that narration. Just send me a text message if you do that now. What about that narration? You just put that in there, and I'll send that back to you, okay? You guys have any questions? Juan? Okay, then, inshallah, we'll stop here. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us the people of the Tawhid, to establish our feet firmly upon the Kalimah of the Tawhid, and also to protect us, our children, our wives, concerning all of those things that go against the consistency and the importance of the Tawhid of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Know for surety that no matter what you do, what we're talking about here today does not mean you can't make mistakes and people don't make mistakes and sins. Everybody here makes mistakes. Everybody here makes mistakes. But when we make mistakes, we have to make tawbah to Allah Azza wa Jalla with Tawheed. And when we make mistakes, as Abu Hurairah said, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he said, for me to swear by Allah and I'm lying is more preferred to me, more beloved by me than to swear by other than Allah. For him to say, wallahi, and he's lying, he knows he's lying. He said, I prefer to do that than to swear by the Nabi, than to swear by something else. It's not him saying lying is okay. Lying, swearing by Allah and lying is okay. He didn't say that. He said, but in the scale of things, lying, but you swear by Allah is lesser than lying, is lesser than swearing by other than Allah. Other than Allah. So, at-tawheed, at-tawheed. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك وأشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.